What's up, you guys? In Zero Dawn with a therapist. I appreciate so much that you've taken the time out of your day or night to watch this playthrough. I hope that you will make it all the way to the end. I hope that you check out my other playthroughs, or if you have watched them all and you enjoy them, I hope that you will enjoy this one as well. I'm very excited to bring this to you and to analyze the world of Aloy and all the amazing characters that are in here. It's going to be a really good time. I ask that you please leave a thumbs up on this, leave a comment if you feel so inclined. Your engagement on these videos makes a huge difference for discoverability and making sure that the videos are seen by other people who can also enjoy it. If you share these videos with others, I really am grateful for that as well. It's an awesome way to make sure that I get more eyeballs on this so that more people can learn. So also check all the links down in the description. Would love to see you live on Twitch with us sometime. And yeah, let's make it happen. This is going to be a good time. Remember, I pause a lot. The purpose of these playthroughs is to illustrate psychological concepts and make stuff relatable to people using media that they can understand and connect with. So if you want to watch somebody play this on the hardest difficulty, if you want somebody to just play the game, bro, this is not the playthrough for you. I pause a lot. We talk about a lot of stuff. It's what I do. Go find somebody else to watch if you don't like that. But I'm guessing you're here because you do. So love you. All right, here we go. Let's make it happen.
What's that now? Don't like the cold? Can't stay in today. We have a ritual to perform, you and I. Here. Wear this. It belonged to my daughter. Good. Today, I speak your name, girl. But will the goddess speak it back? Normally, it would be the mother who declares, if you had one. The whole village would attend, and matriarchs perform the ritual. But we are outcasts. Even so, we keep the tribe's rituals. Otherwise, we might become like the faithless old ones, who turned their backs on the goddess. But their wickedness doomed them. To us, were left the splendors of creation, beasts of air, water, earth, and steel.
So badass.
It is one thing to hunt a beast, another to hunt a machine. You must be humble and respect their power. I will teach you this one day. High Matriarch Tirsa. What is she doing here? Does she mean to forbid the ritual?
no, off your knees. It's nearly time. And yes, you may speak to me.
You came to bless the naming,
Have not 6 months gone by since we entrusted her to you?
but we are outcasts.
You by choice, and she, well... I am a High Matriarch, Rost. I bless whom I choose.
Then you honor us.
Yes, now go, and be ready to declare. Go! Oh, Mother, this child needs a name by which to know her. That your love may warm her life as the rising sun warms all the earth. Speak her name!
Aloy!
And so her name is blessed.
Stop this at once! What have you done?
I've blessed the naming of a child.
Stubborn woman, you call that curse a child? What did she tell you about his birth, outcast? Answer!
I've done only what you asked.
To raise it, yes. We said nothing of love.
Enough.
And you, blessing its name like it was one
I
of the
know
Nora,
my duty
one of
to
the
them.
tribe.
And to you.
Without consultation.
I'm here,
Did all year, did
and wherever you go, I will follow.
Not a lot there for me to be able to fully analyze. I will say that there's probably going to be a considerable amount of culture that we have to take into account in this playthrough, which I'm actually pretty excited about. Culture is absolutely something that affects the way that people are raised, because culture develops a system of norms, rules, expectations, etc. So one of the things that we're going to make sure that we do is keep in mind the cultural norms and expectations of this world. And I'm going to try not to be overly imposing of like my own values on what we see here, because one of the most important things when engaging with cultures that we don't really understand or identify with is to be curious about it and to try to get to know why things operate the way they do. There are some cultural norms that can absolutely be harmful. There are others that can carry great meaning and be great for people. So I don't know enough about this yet to know anything about like this ritual or how they conceptualize their world, but I very much look forward to that as we go through it. So it's interesting that Aloy does not have a mother, was entrusted to this guy, and he seems to have developed an affinity for her, an attachment to her, some love for her, has attended to her needs, and that will be something hopefully that's meaningful to Aloy as she gets older, if he can be consistent and reliable. So we'll see what happens here. Now, yeah, sociological development is different from individual development, but there is absolutely an interplay. Microsystems exist within macro systems, and culture is a big circle relative to the bullseye that comes down to a micro and it affects us. Our culture affects us. No matter where you are, where you grow up, the norms of that area of your environment are absolutely going to affect the way that you show up in the world. So
Aloy! Aloy!
Oh, that's a lot of berries. You're quite the gatherer, aren't you, little Bast? Now go and see if you can find some more, hmm?
quick word about this. Let's hit the ground running on this. Also, I just wanted to test to make sure that I could actually pause during cutscenes. The way that woman interacted with that child around the berries is an excellent example of the way in which you can work with children to reward desirable behavior from them. When you have kids this age, a lot of the ways that they are going to understand and manipulate their environment is very concretely, with one-to-one behavioral response for a specific action. So if this child was requested to gather berries and then did gather berries, the woman saying, "You've done such a good job gathering these berries. I really appreciate that you've done this. Let's go get some more." That energy that she gives in the form of a warm response to the child is a reward for completing that task. And a lot of parents don't really understand this. They will instead consistently focus on punishing undesirable behavior as opposed to rewarding desirable behavior. So finding the positives or the desirability within a child's behavior and then giving warm, consistent energy and enthusiasm to that is a way for a child to register that that is a behavior that they should perpetuate, because they will come to expect that type of response if it's consistent from you as a parent. I wouldn't call it necessarily an example of scaffolding unless that woman is trying to actually help this child develop the skill of gathering berries. This I would think is more of wanting to reinforce that if the child was requested to do this, this was desirable that you complied, and so we're going to give you some reinforcement as a result of that. I also saw a really cool question about like how does sociological norms and cultures develop from the outset. Generally, we see cultural norms develop out of the way in which people respond to surviving their environment. So as we watch through this game, some of the norms that we're going to see and some of the governing rules of the culture that we're within are likely developed from how these people have learned to survive the environment. That's usually where it starts from, and then people start to create stories and narratives and traditions around that in order to perpetuate what they have learned is useful to survive that environment.
Well done. That's a good boy. Children, come with me.
Whoa. Oh, holy crap. Okay. That hurts. I don't know about you, but that really hurts to watch. That is. So children are always observing their environment, and children have a tendency to naturally desire the reinforcement from adults because adults provide safety and security and guidance. Aloy observed this child give that woman berries, and the woman responded in kind. Aloy at that age does not possess the brain power and skill to be able to understand all of that in context. What Aloy sees is the one-to-one behavior to behavior. Child hands berries to lady, lady responds in kind with a type of energy that she would desire as a child. So what does Aloy do? She goes and grabs her own handful of berries and walks up to the woman, expecting that the woman is going to respond the same way. But then is confronted with a dissonant experience in the form of a punishment for doing something that she witnessed be desirable in another context. Why this is so painful is because Aloy has no way of understanding that. That is going to absolutely confuse her. Why does this child hand berries to this woman and get adoration and warmth, but when I do it, I do not? And unfortunately, because of where Aloy is developmentally, she is going to internalize that in an egocentric way and ask herself, what's wrong with me? And this is where children will start to struggle with self-esteem over time, because they, by nature of how brain development works, they personalize these types of things. When something doesn't make sense or something hurts, if they're not given the explanation or the context to help them understand it, she's going to say something's wrong with me. And that's really painful. And it really sucks to watch. So you have to be very careful as a parent and an adult in how you respond to children around these things, because you should always assume that a child is going to personalize your response to something and how you respond to them.
She's an outcast, to be shunned.
Ugh. That's adult sensibility being applied to children. It's terrible. Oh.
Come on.
See, and the beauty of that is that kid intuitively doesn't understand that. So we see this kid initially have some level of empathy. If you watch children when they play together, children very rarely are exclusionary or like assholes to each other. Kids generally are very like accepting and warm, and they don't see other humans through adult constructs. So like this idea that she's an outcast to be shunned, those are socially constructed concepts that we apply to people in order to oppress them and categorize them or exert influence over, or whatever it may be. A child that age isn't going to have any understanding of that. So what they're going to do is they're going to use their parents or adults as reference for how they're supposed to navigate that space. So that kid's natural propensity is to have some level of empathy for Aloy. But the adult is the one who comes in and intercepts that and essentially scaffolds that child, learning this is a person who we have deemed unworthy of our attention. So it's an adult taking adult constructs and then manipulating a child's worldview as a result. And this is it in spades, to where now this kid is likely to see Aloy as other and problem, even though he doesn't actually understand why. It's just because his mom or whoever this lady is told him that he shouldn't like her. Which is how you develop things like racism in children and all sorts of isms, is that adults teach their kids what to hate and why to hate it. And kids have no point of reference for why that would be problematic, so they go with it. It's why whenever groups are trying to manipulate children, you try to catch children young, because they're a blank slate that you can imprint upon, and then all future interactions are compared to that imprint, which is why child abuse is so nefarious and terrible. At what age do kids start buying into those adult constructs? Well, the kid's going to buy in early, because the kid is basically given a single story about this to buy into. When a kid gets old enough to understand those constructs and why they exist and challenge them is very much going to depend on diverse representation and education. If these kids are kept in a very insular community, he's probably not going to learn that that was a problematic thing. He's going to go along with it because for whatever reason, that's what was decided by people that he trusts. This is why education and diverse representation is so important, because then you start to challenge things like that. Yeah, that would hurt a lot. Oh my God! Holy shit!
Down here! Rost! He won't hear me. Some kind of cave?
Okay, so, oh man, we're gonna have a field day here, friends. We are gonna have a field day here. So one of the ways in childhood that you can determine who a child's primary attachment figure is, and I encourage you to watch my video on attachment on YouTube if you haven't already, is a child will seek physical proximity to their attachment figure in a time of distress. So Aloy just rolled down this hill and landed in this cave, and she immediately calls out for Rost, whether he can hear her or not, which means that Aloy has internalized Rost, who I'm assuming is the guy that carried her up the mountain. She has internalized him as being somebody who responds to her consistently and reliably in those times of distress. So the fact that she immediately starts calling for him gives us insight as observers of her into who she carries with her as a stable force when she is stressed out. And that's actually a good thing for children when they experience adversity, because if they're securely attached, in particular, Aloy will take this as a moment to like problem solve and is likely to explore the environment and try to figure it out, as opposed to absolutely freaking out. Not guaranteed that it will happen, but you absolutely raise your percentages on that if you have facilitated secure attachment in your children.
Ew, rats.
Ugh, it was right. Rats that can swim too, Aloy. How terrible is that? This would be awful.
Looks tight, but I can get through.
I love that she talks to herself. Ah!
This must be a ruin of the metal world. One of the old places.
It's actually really impressive that at 6 years old, she walks into this space and sees this metal and then deduces that this is probably somewhere from like the metal world in the past. Actually really impressive cognitive processing for a 6-year-old. Also goes to show maybe how interwoven discussion of the history of this world is in how kids are learning to conceptualize their environment. But it actually stands out to me at 6-year-old, she like falls into this place and she's like, oh, this must be a relic of the old world.
Ross said never go in places like this. But I have to find a way out.
You do. You also didn't go here, you fell into it. Man, what is all this stuff? Man, this is beautiful. I want to know what that is. What is that?
There's something up ahead.
Sure is, Aloy.
What's that? A dead person.
Whoa.
There's something shiny there.
Now, you may be wondering, what would it be like for a child to stumble upon a dead person? I'm so glad you asked. It actually really depends on the way that a child has been socialized around death. When Aloy walks into this cave and says, quite nonchalantly, a dead person, it shows us that death, in some way, shape, or form, has been discussed, normalized. It's part of how people conceptualize the world. For a 6-year-old child to say, oh, a dead body. Adults imprint their sensibilities on children. When you avoid talking about, I'm not saying you have to show your kids dead bodies, but when you avoid talking about death, Aloy walking into this room and seeing a dead body there and like the remnants of it might freak her out, because that's a sculpture of a human that has not been represented to her. Or maybe the concept of death is not something she's aware of. So she would freak out. Because she walked in on this and was able to immediately identify it and in some ways be quite anthropological about it and say, oh, there's something shiny on his head. We might look at this, if you're watching this and you were like, oh my God, she shouldn't go near that dead body. You should rethink that, because a child is more likely to be interested in exploring something. It is the adults that instill the idea that this is something that should freak you out. So this tells me that the concept of death in some ways has been normalized or spoken about in Aloy's experience because of the fact that she was willing to walk up to this and explore it and see the novelty in it. So it's a really good lesson to us all in how we imprint things on children. And sometimes we assume that children should share our sensibilities about things, when in reality, we learned them and children learn them. And watching the way that children respond to things is a great way to see what they've learned and what they haven't learned. Yeah, exactly. Yes, Scottish, for sure. Would discovering a skeleton versus a non-decomposed corpse change your reaction? We wouldn't know unless she was exposed to it. Love her bracelets.
Oh. Lights. Everywhere. How does he do this?
Oh man, this would be a really cool experience. Whoa. Yeah, 6-year-old brain is like, oh my God, look at all these lights. This is so cool. It doesn't hurt, so it must be fine.
A metal door. Closed. Maybe this device I found can help.
She is smart. She is incredibly intelligent. Like, seeing this kind of deductive reasoning from a 6-year-old. Woo, baby. You'd have to be careful as an adult not to engage with her as if she's an adult. Because she is... Maybe this device I found can help. Yeah. A great way to think about it.
A shape. It's connected to the door somehow.
There you go. Oh, this is going to be so much fun from a development standpoint. A shape. It's perfect. We look at this and we say a machine or a locking device or an ATM or bloody, 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 bloody. She looks at it as a child and goes, a shape. Because she doesn't have any conceptualization of the technology that she's looking at all. None. So the beauty of this is that, like, we're seeing how simplistic her view of these things are. And then now she's trying to connect certain concepts that she understands. She's not sitting here overanalyzing it. She's saying, oh, this is a shape and this does something. That's cool. Let's see what it does. There's a beautiful curiosity here in how she is handling this. And I love that was written into this, to have her just call it a shape, because that's what a child would say. Code Nexus, secure encryption port with holographic display. Data shows required settings for nearby hololocks. Now, I don't know the extent to which she can read, but electromagnetic security mechanism with standard holographic UI. Interface unavailable. Turn hololock counterclockwise, turn hololock clockwise.
It changed color.
It must mean something. Oh, this is so cool, man. To experience this through like a child's eyes. Would you be able to expand on the idea of careful not to engage with her as an adult? Because I've heard that before, never completely understood it. Yes. Children do not possess the brain development or brain power to conceptualize our world in the way that adults do. It takes years of lived experience for us to develop the internal symbols, concepts, etc. Our brain takes about 26 years to fully develop. Children see the world in very simplistic terms, and they don't know things until they learn them. A lot of adults have a tendency to engage with children as if children understand the world in the way that they do. And so, like, if Aloy, for example, was to walk up to one of those stalactites, if she'd never seen it before, and it's in the shape of some sort of dessert that she's had before, and she walks up to it and licks it, an adult who engages with the child as if they're an adult would look at her and say, what the hell are you doing, Aloy? And would, like, punish her for that. When the reality is, Aloy has no point of reference for a stalagmite or a stalactite because she's never encountered one before. Children are constantly learning. And unless you teach them and help them understand the world, getting angry at them for how they explore it and how they make sense of it is ridiculous. So adults see children and they look at them and think they're little adults. The reality is adults are big children. It's not children are literal little adults. So you need to make sure as an adult that when you're engaging with children, you're reminding yourself constantly that that child does not have the years of lived experience it took for you to understand the complexity of the environment that you're in. They are egocentric. They are limited in their ability to cognitively process the environment. And people who are developmentally conscious will engage with their children that way and will facilitate much more meaningful engagements with their kids as a result. And like, parents that treat their kids as adults drive me nuts, because well, no, they should understand. No, you had to learn it too. You just don't remember when you learned it. It's a form of it at times, goddess, but not necessarily. We wouldn't necessarily consider it that, depending on context.
The door changed color too.
Cool. Let's see what that means for us.
It did it.
Ooh.
What's that?
Another body.
Got a device. Like the one I found.
You think I want it this way? It's the best I can do. He's right behind you. Hi! Happy birthday, Isaac. Daddy sure does love his little big man. Look, Daddy can't be there with you and Mom, but we can still have a party, right? Sure we can.
Show me. Show me again.
I can do. He's right behind you. Hi! Happy birthday, Isaac. Daddy sure does love his little big man. Look, Daddy can't be there with you and Mom, but we can still have a party, right? Sure we can.
Happy birthday, Isaac. Daddy sure does love his little big man.
Wow. Oh, that's so adorable. Holy crap. I mean, let's take that in contrast with what we just saw a little while ago with the berries. I mean, even so, first of all, again, Aloy does not have a conceptualization of a hologram, and the most, it's not entirely subtle, but it adds a lot to this engagement. When that kid like looks behind Aloy and Aloy looks back, that is a window into the fact that Aloy doesn't necessarily understand the way that the holograms work. Like, this is her first exposure to it. But she sees this like human form, and you like watch her brain go like it's like flying a million miles an hour in order to try to process what's happening. And she sees a human engage in this like warm, meaningful, fun way, and she gets excited about it because she just had an interaction with a real person that sucked ass. So it's fascinating just to watch her process that and say, you know, ooh, show me again. Like, that's really exciting. I can like laugh around with this kid who looks like he's maybe a little bit older than me, but there's such a like a novelty and a curiosity about this because Aloy doesn't have a template through which to be afraid of this. I don't know how an adult would respond if they came down here with all the history and stuff that they've been taught about the way that this world works, but something tells me that if they were down here, I mean, Roth told her, don't ever go down here. Like, he essentially instilled some idea that this is not something you want to witness and this is a terrible thing. And Aloy's down here like, oh, this is cool. There's pretty lights. And there's people, and there's people in the form of lights. That's awesome. Like, she's not scared of it, which in some ways is okay, right? Like, we don't want to freak kids out on stuff they don't want to be freaked out about. It's also dangerous sometimes because kids will not be freaked out about things that they should be freaked out about because they don't understand what they're engaging in. So like, it's not an exact science in terms of how you handle these types of things with a kid, but I love how excited Aloy gets about this and then repeats it because she saw something that feels good. And it seems like she's in desperate need of connection with humans that feels good. right. Squeeze through the gap. Log, Connor Chasson. Voice log recorded January 1st, 2066. Data corruption partial.
Well, happy New Year, dear diary. Can you believe we actually celebrated last night? Well, we did. Kind of. Director Evans invited everyone to gather in the community room. Don't know where he got the party hats. That was a ghoulish touch. So there we sit, watching the clock tick down to midnight, and I'm thinking, am I the only one who gets the symbolism of this? It might have been worth it if Skylar had gotten drunk again, but I seem to be a mistake she doesn't want to repeat.
Man, to hear voices from the past. Kids navigate technology better than adults because they are a lot more patient and they don't have a point of reference for using stuff they've learned in other contexts that don't necessarily apply to the technology. It's no different than like language or any other skill. The earlier a child learns it, that skill is developed along with their brain rather than being something that you have to take a more a brain with less plasticity and apply new concepts to it. Full stop.
I saw them lining up in the community room. Like cattle in a slaughterhouse, but smiling at each other. Shauna handing out meds like being alive is some kind of pain to be eased. Well, not me. I don't want to go quiet. I don't want to trail off. I want a period at the end of my life sentence, not an ellipses. Hell, an exclamation mark. So if that upsets whoever finds this, too bad. I don't know anyone, anything, anymore.
Whoa. Now, yeah, cool. Wow. Okay, so this is going to hit us harder than it's going to hit Aloy. Just to be clear, because so many of us watching this understand the concept of suicide. We also know what a gunshot sounds like. Aloy probably doesn't have a concept of suicide and likely wouldn't understand what that gunshot was other than knowing that it's a loud noise, and probably doesn't possess the ability to deduce that this guy killed himself. What she's probably going to think is like, there was this light, this guy said some stuff, and there was a loud noise, and then the audio cut out. So this is, again, it's one of those moments where we can take a second and say, like, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like, oh my God, wouldn't this traumatize Aloy? Not necessarily. No. Because Aloy would have to actually understand the depth of that in order to be, like, traumatized by it. Like, she isn't actually experiencing any pain, so to speak, in this scenario that she would register as a trauma. Now, if she did in some ways have some conceptualization of suicide and gunshots and that kind of thing, this potentially could, because she would have an understanding of it. But she likely is just going to see lights and then a loud noise and then the hologram went out. But it doesn't make it any less heavy from like a world building standpoint. It sounds like what these people are dealing with might have been pretty rough. What a line, by the way. I want my life to end with a period, not an ellipses. That's some good ass writing. By the way, if suicide is something that you or anybody you know has been affected by, I highly recommend you check out my conversation about suicide video on YouTube. I've gone into significant depth on the topic. I was a suicide prevention hotline volunteer for 3 years when I was in my undergrad and have worked with suicide professionally in multiple contexts. So if that's something where you're like, oh man, I need to take a second and I'd love to hear DrMick's words on it, I encourage you to watch that video. But we don't have to freak out about Aloy witnessing that. Also, as evidenced by the fact that Aloy is not seem particularly phased here while we're walking through here. She's just kind of like, okay. All right, so organic life forms light up with this thing. Aloy, how are you going to hide that thing from Roth? I'm guessing that that's not going to be a particularly welcome sight.
Why did they die here? What happened to them?
Good question, Aloy. Is there a limit on how much detail we can share to a curious child that doesn't have context on topics like death, being an outsider, maybe suicide? I would argue no. Other than if you notice that the kid starts to get like freaked out, you might want to chill a little bit, but you want to keep it really simple depending on the age of the child. It depends on the age of the child, what they've been exposed to, etc. But generally, no. I'm more of a fan of communicating about the realities of life, more so than I am ignoring them.
Record our thoughts for posterity. Great idea, Director Evans. Like I haven't done enough for posterity already. Like I wouldn't be here like this if not for posterity. I'm done with posterity. Posterity can go.
Can go what, Connor? Fly to the moon? Skylar Rivera.
And Machu Picchu. Always wanted to see that. Never did. Why didn't I go with Owen when he asked? Stupid. Should've gone. Well.
Dude, this place sucks. This is like a freaking death chamber, man. Mia Saeed.
Shall soon dissolve like snow. The sun forbid to shine. But God, who called me here below, will be forevermore. And maybe that's all I need, you know? That moment the door opened and you were standing there wearing that retro wave dress and the way you smiled. I had to look away or you were gonna see on my face what had just blossomed inside me, you know? It was just an instant, but I knew we'd be forever.
Some of these people sound like they were probably drugged out. Oh, man. Does her desire for adult approval outside of Rost imply that he's not showing her enough? Nah, we can't make that call this early. I would not go that far yet.
And pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. I mean,
Okay, from the top, kids. Hail Mary, full of grace.
Man, thank you for not making me listen to the entire prayer. It's a long one. Jeez, man. All right, so I was right. So these people were all drugged out.
He found me. Ross found me. Down here. I'm coming. I'm coming.
Oops. I kept calling him Roth. Sorry, retirement on the brain. Don't worry, I'm not retiring from this anytime soon. Rost! I'm terrible at names.
I'm coming.
Oh, Mother be praised. Come, girl. Take my hand. You don't belong down there. Come. Such places are forbidden, Aloy.
I fell in.
They are of the metal world. What is that on your face?
Nothing.
Did you find it down there?
No.
Give it to me.
No.
Aloy, such things are dangerous.
No!
Well, if you're gonna go sneaking away from home, you'll need to know how to survive in the wild. Come, Aloy. Home now.
My man! Yeah! Oh! God! Yes! What a win! Oh, man, I was like on my freaking tippy toes wondering how he was going to handle that. Oh, man. Oh, man. Okay. So, beautiful. You see his adult sensibilities getting the best of him there. Rost likely believes that that cave in the old world is dangerous because that's what he's been told. And so Aloy being down there understandably freaked him out. I could totally understand why that would freak him out. I also wonder if some of that is his own self-preservation because he's like, oh my gosh, if Aloy goes down there and starts asking questions, she might be in danger. Like, I do wonder if to some extent the danger in finding out about the metal world is that the people who currently exist don't want to talk about it. Like, that very well could be the case as well. I don't know. But that moment of pause is something that I wish I could teach every single parent to do. He stopped and he reflected and he asked himself, why am I doing this? Why am I reacting this way? Is it because of my own shit or is it because of the reality of the situation? And Aloy saying, no, I don't want you to have this. And the fact that she's safe and she's fine and she made it out of there and it wasn't dangerous, for him to take a second and compute that and then say, you know what? I obviously can't hide this stuff from her. She's a smart girl. I'm going to have to work to help her understand the realities of how to survive the world because her curiosity has been piqued to the max. Dude, freaking bravo, man. Taking a second as a parent to be thoughtful about the variables that are in front of you and put it in context and not get into your own bullshit and instead respond to the moment is one of the greatest and most valuable skills you can have as your child grows older. And I love that Ross took a second there to evaluate that for himself and then draw a conclusion and move forward in a way that's going to facilitate a more meaningful relationship with Aloy going forward. There is nothing wrong with taking a deep breath and being thoughtful about how you respond to your children or the children that you take care of. And Ross just showed that in a beautiful way. Whew.
Starting tomorrow, you will learn to hunt.
And see, now she's in. She's excited. It's awesome. He didn't lose her there. He knew he was going to lose her there if he polarized. It's great.
All these shapes. What do they mean?
Take your bow.
Get off your phone. We're going hunting.
Bow?
And enough muttering to that plaything. We descend to the valley now. Follow. The wilds can be dangerous, Aloy. You will need to stay close and do as I say.
I know.
Now, you're still scratched up from that fall you took yesterday. So let's start there. Take this medicine pouch. I'll show you how to fill it. See this plant over here?
Now, a word really quick about the put down the phone. Phones, iPads, technology are quite literally the most amazing thing in the entire world for a child's brain. If you, as a parent, give your child technology to occupy their brain, you don't get to be shitty with them about the fact that they enjoy using it. It is crack cocaine for children to give them an iPad. So if you're going to give your children technology to mess around with at a young age, you'd better have some rules and some expectations, and you'd better enforce them, rather than getting all shitty with your kids about the fact that they're using their iPad all the time. If you don't have any kind of restrictions on it, if you're not thoughtful about their use of it, that is the most exciting thing possible for a kid to use. There is novelty up the wazoo. They will learn how to use it. They will love it. They will rely on it as a crutch. If you hand your kid an iPad when you want them to sit down and shut up, just know that you are reinforcing a lot of stuff you probably don't want to reinforce. So you would damn well better have some boundaries on this. If your kid is in their phone all the time, as a parent, it's your fault. It's up to you to enforce restrictions around it. So Ross saying, hey, turn that thing off, we're going to go hunting. Not the greatest way to do it. You might say something like, you know, Aloy, I'm going to allow you to have this piece of technology, but there's going to be some real limits on it. I know that it's exciting to use, but there are things that take precedence over it. And if you show me that you're able to manage that and you turn it off when I ask you to turn it off, I will allow you to keep it and continue to access it. If you start using it instead of listening to me and doing what needs to be done, I'm going to need to take it away or put some severe limitations on it. That's how you handle that stuff. I'm as pro-technology as they come. I'm also pro-restriction for children. It's your fault if that's what your kids get hooked to. Not your kids, because you've essentially gave them a bag of Coke and said, go wild.
It's called salvebrush. Come, gather its berries in your pouch.
Okay. Gather medicinal salvebrush.
Aloy, come now. Got good. Now eat the berries. They may taste bitter, but they can save your life. Always keep your pouch full of medicinal berries, flowers, and plants.
Where are we?
This valley is just a part of All Mother's embrace.
Embrace.
The Nora tribe watches these lands and keeps out the most dangerous machines, usually.
I love that. Embrace. She's learning new words.
Further downriver, we'll find a herd of machines, and I will teach you how to hunt.
Are they dangerous?
All machines are dangerous, Aloy. Their power must be respected. But I will be beside you.
Ooh, that's good, man. Oh, Rust, come on. You gonna get the DrMick parenting seal of approval tonight? You just might. Beautiful. So this is what the concept of scaffolding looks like from a learning theory perspective. He is going to teach her conceptually what to be mindful of. He is reinforcing that there is a skill to be developed and that he is right by her side, teaching her that we need to respect these machines because not just because they're dangerous, but because of just what they are is awesome. And then saying, if you find that you get freaked out or that it's hard, just remember, I am available to you. I am here. I will keep you safe. It is a reinforcement of the consistency and reliability that he provides as a caregiver, but he's also allowing her to lean in to the danger and adversity that she's going to face as it relates to this. It's absolutely beautiful the way that he is preparing her for this moment. And it's something that's going to invite her in to the stress of this. And it's also on the back end going to allow her to continue to internalize Rost and create a nuanced object, internalized object of him that she can rely on when he's not available. It's fantastic. Darkness, I've seen you mention God of War a couple times. I don't want to make comparisons to God of War, particularly for people that haven't played the game. So I don't really care much about Kratos and Atreus as it relates to this playthrough. We're going to focus on Aloy.
Aloy, a machine's coming. Crouch and follow me into the tall grass.
Beautiful. God, this is so good. All right. This is how you teach.
There. Now stay low.
Little one.
No, Aloy. Such machines are called Watchers. You must learn to avoid their gaze if you are to survive in the wilds. I will show you. Listen close and do as I do. Stay still. Wait for it to pass. Now keep low and follow me across the trail to that tall grass.
I'm going to nitpick this, and in this case, I'm going to nitpick this in a good way. One of the best ways to give children directives and to help them learn a skill, particularly when they're in a situation that they've never been in before, is you tell them what to do, not what to avoid. So his directions here are incredibly important because if he keeps them succinct and he tells her what to do, it makes it a lot easier for her to follow. So an example of this in real life is instead of saying to a child who's running around your house, don't run, say to the child, walk or tiptoe or whatever. Because if you say don't run, you've opened up every other option besides running. So then when your kids start skipping and you get pissed off because they started skipping, they technically followed your instructions because you said don't run. So in this scenario where they're in a relatively intense situation and he's teaching her a skill, he's speaking in the affirmative. He's telling her what to do, what to focus on. He's staying away from the word don't. And it's beautiful because that's an easier way for a child to understand what they need to do because she thinks about these things in concrete terms. So this is an attention to her development. It's fantastic. And it's a lesson that's super easy for people to learn, and you should put it in your back pocket if you're a parent.
Oh, another one. Let it pass.
Let it pass. Stay still. It's great. Whoa. The other thing that's really great, man, the other thing that's really great about this is Aloy is going to feed off of Rost's presence with this. So these machines, I think part of the reason that Aloy's not freaking out about this right now is because Rost is not freaking out about this. He's staying very calm. He's staying very collected. He's giving her directives. He's attending to her. So she can feed off of that energy when she's with him as she navigates this. So not only are his words helpful in terms of helping her learn, his presence is important because she is going to be watching that and she's going to mimic what he does and observe him because that's her template for how to understand this experience. She doesn't have any other template. This is it. So his mindfulness around this is A+. Huge fan.
Come back.
Exactly, Megaria, you are correct.
The slower you move, the quieter you'll be. And crouched walking is quieter than upright. Wait for it.
They're so cool.
That's the last of them. Let's move on. You did well. They didn't see or hear you.
Nice.
Now stay close. That herd should be just ahead.
Yep. Reinforce for her the desirable behavior, man. It's great. Great.
Who's that?
Ignore him.
But why is he up there? Smiling at us.
Teb! Get back where you belong! Teb! Where are you?
Ignore him. We are outcasts and he is of the tribe.
Maybe he doesn't like the tribe.
And he is a fool. Come now. Let's find that herd. Follow.
Okay. Look, I mean, it's beautiful though. Like I'm not gonna pause it every single time that we see this, but I do want to just sort of make it established as a common theme in this playthrough, which is right there. You see the difference between how a child with no context processes that and an adult with projected context processes that. Aloy sees it and goes, "That's cool. He's swinging around and he's smiling at us." And Rost is like, "No, man. No, we're outcasts. He's a fool, man." Because Rost has a bunch of built-up stuff in his mind that he's drawing upon in order to make a call about that guy. And again, that may actually be good from a survival standpoint. I'm not shitting on Rost for this. But you see the difference. If Rost got crappy with Aloy about the way that she was processing that, he would miss the mark. Because Aloy doesn't have a frame of reference. He's teaching her a frame of reference for that. He has now taught her that maybe somebody like that isn't something that we should look at as desirable and fun. But there's a real difference there. And I want folks to be mindful about these types of things as we go through this section of the game, because once you start to see it, it will help you evaluate your own interactions with children. and it will help you understand some of the interactions that other adults have with children. And I really want to emphasize that point, because as soon as you can acknowledge when you're projecting adult sensibilities onto children and change that, you will have more meaningful interactions with children. Love the way she runs.
There. See them? These are called striders. Ha! Get!
Why'd you
Go on,
chase
get.
them off?
To show you how some machines startle easily if they detect you and run away. They're best approached by stealth. Don't worry. We'll catch up with them further down the valley. You'll see. Now, I want you to find some rocks that fit the cup of your hand.
Why?
Do as I say, Aloy, and gather the rocks. I will show you how to use them. Good. That's it.
Children can be incessant with the wise. It can get annoying. As long as you can, if you can hang in there and be patient with them and answer their questions, all they're trying to do is understand. That's it. So, I mean, he did a pretty good job there. He's like, basically like, do as I say and I'll explain it later. That's an okay way to handle that. I love the directive of find rocks that fit in the cup of your hand.
Those will do. Follow.
I stan Rost, apparently. I'm going to be a little rebel and pick up more, though, Rost. What are you going to do about it? My pouch can hold it.
Aloy, come now. There's the herd. All right, it's time to throw some rocks.
But rocks can't hurt machines, right?
No, but they can distract them. Draw them into traps. Like that watcher over there. It must be dealt with, or it will warn the herd and send them running before we get in range.
Warn them? How?
The machines speak to each other, Aloy. Unless they are first silenced. Now you stay here on the ridge. On my signal, throw rocks and draw the watcher over to me. Wait for my signal.
Oh, this is so good.
Aloy, throw a rock near me.
Where are you?
Throw a rock to draw the watcher towards me.
Oh, he's right there. Okay.
There. Come, girl, it's safe now.
Hey, Dad, heads up. Always be prepared, Pops. I guess it's not her dad. He did take damage. I wonder if he could kill him.
Harvest a kill so I can teach you how to make arrows.
When near a dead machine, hold triangle to harvest it. How on earth would she know how to do this?
Harvest a kill, Aloy. Pay attention.
Okay.
Good. I see you've already gathered stalks of ridgewood. Use the stalks as arrow shafts, and metal shards for arrowheads.
Okay.
Good. You'll never run out of arrows if you know how to craft what you need. Let's put those arrows to use. Follow.
Nice. Look how gorgeous this is. Oh my God.
Here, stay low in the grass and be quiet. It's time to make your first kill, Aloy. The Strider, one of the weaker machines, but even a weak machine can kill a hunter if she's careless. It will study your prey. Its hide is thick, but there are spots where it is vulnerable, like its eye. Can you guess another?
I'm guessing the tank on the back.
The canister on its back. Is that a weakness?
Yes. How did you guess that?
The device. It showed me.
That plaything? Stop playing games. Now, take down that Strider. Target the eye or the canister. And if it charges, be ready to roll out of the way.
Right. Little bitch-ass Strider. Got no idea. Oh yeah, do we shoot it in the ass or the eye? I think we shoot it in the ass.
Aloy, take aim and make your kill. Keep firing!
Why? I got it in one shot, Pops. Look how proud she is. Hell yeah, look at this stride. Fuck yeah. Just killed the shit out of that Strider.
You did well today, but you have much to learn. Tomorrow, we train again. What was that?
That boy. The one running the brave trails.
Follow Aloy, quick!
Good thing I've been working on my quads so the river didn't sweep me away, Dad. I keep calling him Dad. He's not Dad. Might as well be Dad. Good thing I've been working on my quad so I could cross the river, attachment figure Rost. The old AFR, you know what I'm saying? Yeesh.
I can do nothing. It's only a matter of time before the machines find that boy and kick him to death. But if I shoot, it'll cause a stampede, and it will trample him.
But I can see the paths they take.
Stop telling stories.
I'm not. I can sneak through.
You will not.
Oh, good job, buddy. Way to take her bow. Oh, God. I love the look back there. I'm honestly, I'm Team Rost on that. He probably should have grabbed her rather than, like, you know, just let her go and then grab her bow. I mean, as soon as she gave the indication that she wanted to go and was thinking about this, he probably should have restrained her. But hey, he didn't, so here we are. But I love the look back. I don't think the look back is, you know, giving him the mean mug stanky face. I think the look back is, I'm doing this and you are my stability on this one. So you're going to have to trust me here. But Rost is, I think, understandably freaked out by the technology. It's probably for the best that he doesn't understand it, because he would probably take it away from her if he did. But we see his panic on this, I think, because he's probably been taught in general, technology bad. Metal bad.
I need to do this slowly and quietly.
And I don't have my bow.
Can't let them see me. Got to be careful.
It is really cool that the technology can see the path that the machines take. That's a really neat touch. How do I make sure the horse doesn't see me? Sorry, the Strider. Alright, we're gonna wait till it does its little stop and patrol thing, and then we're gonna go.
I need to see their paths.
Go, Aloy, go. Go, 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 go.
Almost there. There he is. Hey.
What? How is this? Shh.
Follow me.
Damn, look at her, model. Don't worry about it, bud. I got you. No time for questions. But again, the way that she's handling this as a leader, she learned from Rust. So when she's like, follow me, I mean, it's literally what she just saw from him. It's really awesome to see her take that and then co-opt it into her own leadership style.
How is this possible?
Dude, we're just sneaking around him, bro. Like, just... I'm all for whimsy, but, like, you can chill a little bit.
So, it is no plaything.
Bro, way to go, dude.
Wait. Oh, Mother, bless that girl. Bless you both.
Boy!
She saved me. I just wanted...
Boy! Seal your lips.
They are outcasts, both. And she is motherless. Come now! Back to Mother's heart. And you.
Damn. What a shitty thing to learn.
The boy should not have spoken to us. It's against tribal law. We'll go home now. Follow.
I know the way. Seal your lips. Seal your lips. Seal your lips.
Frost getting one back on me. Damn.
Stay away, no mother. Ooh.
All right, real quick. Why would that kid do that? Kids are dicks. No, they're not. The kid learned that. That kid learned that. That kid doesn't chuck that rock at her and make fun of her for being a no mother if he didn't learn from the adults that that's what he's supposed to do. Anytime a kid's an asshole, they learned it. They are not inherently dickish like that. Now, sometimes kids will do things like push each other and throw stuff because they just genuinely want to understand how that works from like a one-to-one. Like if I throw this stuffed animal at your face, what happens? It's more of an exploration thing. Doesn't make it okay. But like that kid saying no mother and having that kind of disgust for her and chucking a rock at her, he learned it. Not the kid's fault. It's the parent. All right, aim for his head, drop your rock, knock the rock from his hands. Oh, let's assert dominance.
Oh.
Yeah, you little bitch.
Hey.
Children, away from there. Back to picking berries.
You're bleeding. Let me have a look. Here, hold still. I'll get it.
Why? Why am I an outcast?
Aloy, this is not the time.
Yes, it is.
Who was my mother?
Aloy, I've told you before, that's not for us to know. You were just a newborn when the matriarchs brought you to me.
So the matriarchs, they know?
It's not so simple.
But they know.
Aloy, we are outcasts.
So how do I make them tell me?
The matriarchs? There is a way, perhaps.
So tell me.
It would be dangerous.
How?
It would take years of training.
I don't care. How do I do it? Tell me.
The proving. The tribe's rite of passage held every year. Those who pass become braves. But to the one who wins, the matriarchs grant a boon.
A boon?
Yes, whatever the winner wants.
Then I'll do it. Whatever it takes. I'll win the proving.
I see. We'd best get started then. Your training will be hard, and it will take years.
Start training? Yes. Follow.
Oh man, that's so adorable. Little Rocky montage action, yeah, dude. Dun 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 dun. Hey, hey, ah, ah, hey, hey, ah, ah. Walt!
Where is he? 2 days
Kevin!
before the proving and he goes off without me? He wouldn't do that.
Jason! That was a badass montage. It was super badass. Oh man, so nice to control an adult now. Oh, so much more smooth. Spear can knock off machine armor using R1. Try it on the training dummies. Hell yeah. You can also knock over small machines. Hell yeah, I can. Look at that. Yeah. Oh, it's a campfire. Okay, good. Oh man.
Can't be too prepared.
Amen.
He said we'd go hunting this morning. Why isn't he here? Where's he gone to?
How is this game a PS4 game? Like, it literally looks like it could be a PS5 game. Absolutely ridiculous.
What's he doing up there?
My guy.
He's just standing there. What's going on with him?
Aloy, you're here.
What's up? You can tell something's off.
Did you want to be alone?
No. We must speak. I've been thinking about your training, Aloy. You've learned to hunt, learned to survive. But I fear there's a lesson I failed to teach you. Would you learn it now?
Of course. I'll always learn what you have to teach.
There has been some trouble recently. It affords an opportunity to learn this lesson, but it will be dangerous. You must come prepared, or you will die. Descend into the Embrace and hunt until you have gathered the parts for fire arrows.
Fire arrows? What kind of trouble are we talking about?
Once you have the parts, you will meet me there, at the gate beyond the village of Mother's Heart.
The North Gate? At the edge of the Embrace?
Yes. Now be on your way.
Is something else bothering you?
No, I'm fine.
Anything else you want me to do while I'm down in the Embrace?
Odd Grata might be out of food by now. You could hunt a week's worth of meat for her, if you find the time.
Wouldn't mind if she'd say thanks just once.
Grata follows the law. Her silence towards us is honorable, not an insult.
If you say so. Are you worrying about what happens after the proving?
What happens is clear. You will be accepted as one of the tribe, and I will still be an outcast, to be shunned.
Rost, even if the tribe accepts me, I won't...
There is much to do, Aloy. We will discuss this later.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really tough stuff. Obviously. because again, there's like all these norms and rules and stuff that they got to follow, and he seems to be quite adherent to those norms. Like, even though he has suffered from them, he has a degree of respect for them that I actually wish I could be more curious about and hear about from him.
I'll go gather the parts, but I'm also going to pay Karst a visit.
Aloy, that man breaks the law every time he speaks to you.
And I'm glad he does. I want to buy a tripcaster, and no other trader will sell to outcasts.
Stock it with ammunition, then. You'll find use for that weapon tonight.
That sounds ominous. All right, see you at the North Gate.
Something I appreciate about Rost is that he very much seems to accept that Aloy is gonna do her thing. And so even when it is clearly something that he might not be into, when he recognizes, I know what I'm working with, he goes with it. And I think that's probably why they have such a deep bond, is because Aloy knows that she can trust her sensibilities and that Rost will ultimately back her up. Not that you have to back everything up as a parent, but like his willingness to really think through his interactions with her and support her in certain ways, it's beautiful. I hate that this pause menu has music, by the way. It's gonna make doing these videos a pain in the ass. All right, let's see. I got skill tree. Critical hits deal more damage, move faster while wielding a heavy weapon. Light spear attacks have greatly increased chance to knock off armor and components. Oh yeah, okay, that's right. This menu doesn't have... Okay, that's right. This is me. We're good. No, we're good. My bad. How do I do this? There we go.
Something's really bothering him. If he thinks I'm gonna abandon him, he's wrong.
If somebody seems off and you ask them if they're okay and they say they're fine, you get one chance to push them. If that person doubles down and continues to say they're fine, leave them alone. And deal with your own anxiety about the fact that they won't answer you. Just general rule of thumb. Even if you know they're not okay, they're obviously setting some kind of boundary, and it's not your responsibility to pry, unless you are going to be directly affected in some kind of meaningful way by the withholding of the info. Except in games, yeah. Not in video games, but in real life.
The embrace. My whole life, I've never gone beyond this valley. That'll change after the proving. 2 days. 2 days until I get answers. 2 days, and I'll know who she was. And why I was cast out at birth. As if there could be an excuse for that. Alright. Time to gather the parts for some fire arrows. I should find a herd.
Oh, I thought I was supposed to get meat for that lady. By the way, those of you that are here watching on YouTube, or if you're with me on Twitch live, I just want to say I really appreciate you taking the time to go through this with me. I am enjoying so much playing this game, even though we're very early on. I hope that you're enjoying it too. I've already had some really good stuff to talk about, and I have no doubt that's going to continue throughout the playthrough. So, Thanks for taking the time. I gotta turn off run toggle. Oh my god.
Mother's heart. 2 more days, and I'll know what it's like in there. It's so many people crammed into one place. I guess no one ever gets lonely in there.
I'm sure there's a lot of things you think about that place that maybe aren't as true as you think. What is this? Are you dangerous? Is that Zur? You got a problem, Nora?
I just want to go about my day.
Okay.
I will not speak to those cast out by the matriarchs.
Okay. So, understandably easy to cast judgment on people for not speaking to the outcasts. Because as humans, we're relational beings and we like the idea that people would attend to us at any given point in time. There is some reason why people don't talk to outcasts. And until we know what that reason is, as hard as it can be to watch people not want to speak to Aloy, the empathic part of us needs to try to be curious about the reasoning. Not because we have to agree with it. We don't have to agree with it. Doing that's not going to negate the fact that Aloy has absolutely suffered as a result of this. But it's to try to get some context for why they do it, so that we know what we're working with if we actually try to engage with people around this stuff, to know whether or not it is actually dangerous or if people are just acting on some sort of random ass directive that's not actually dangerous to Aloy. But curiosity about this is something that we're going to want to carry into this, because it could very well be incredibly dangerous for them to speak to outcasts. Or they're clinging to some kind of tradition that's really just problematic for outcasts. But we want to get information on these things before we start casting a ton of judgment on it. We can still validate that Aloy's experience of it has been terrible without immediately forming our own conclusions on why it exists in the way that it does. That's the kind of thing that helps create nuanced dialogues between groups that can lead to a level of progression in the way those groups interact that just making assumptions and judgments and acting on isn't going to accomplish. That's cool that the technology translates that for us.
And there's the ring. If I kill one of these, is it gonna freak the hell out? I'm guessing they will. This is not the side of the road that I want to be on.
What are you doing over there, bud?
Calm, calm.
Yeah, go check it out. All right, that was a little easier than I thought it was going to be.
Woo! Going down fast.
Oh god, don't run into the fire, Aloy. Easy. Still got a little ways to go, huh? I'm a freaking sniper, man. Unstoppable. Proving's gonna be, ain't gonna be shit.
Deal with them quickly.
God damn. How do I make it? How do I make arrows again? Oh, here we go. All right. Oh, wait. Gather blaze from Striders.
Keep quiet. mouth tensing up.
Okay, we got some of what we need. Man, this rain is just gorgeous.
Good
There we go. Got it. All right, got some fire arrows. Trade for a trip caster. Gotta go to the black market, huh? Did they remaster this when it came to PS5? They didn't remaster it, but they did unclock the FPS so that it runs at 60 frames, and I think it can run up to 4K. Basically runs in performance mode at all times. But I don't know if that's like an actual PS5 upgrade or not.
Make her go away.
Oh, jeez. God, what a miserable thing to be treated like that. Oh, boy. Not interested right now, homies. God damn, this is a long trip.
No one else around. Looks safe to meet. My guess is he'll be waiting. There he is. Looks nervous.
He sure does. What the hell's going on here, bud?
Well, well, well. An outcast on my doorstep. All mother protect me.
Surprised you saw me the way you keep looking every other direction to make sure no one's watching. Careful there, or you'll sprain your neck.
It's always a pain in the neck when you show up, girl, one way or another.
Stop acting like a chuff.
Is there a reason why you're acting so cranky today?
Once you run the proving and get made a brave, you'll deal with traitors in Mother's Heart. Maybe I don't like losing customers.
Traitors who don't break the law and deal with outcasts, you mean?
That's right. Our days of crime will be behind us, so long as you keep quiet.
Are you worried I'm going to tell someone that you trade with outcasts?
I don't think you're the kind who talks, but you never know.
You can stop worrying. The secret's safe with me.
Yeah, that's what I figured, but I don't mind hearing it.
So I actually... he would be a good person to ask the question, what is risky about this? What happens when you talk to me? Like, if he's willing to trade with me and talk to me, it would be a really great opportunity to try to gather information from him about this.
Why do you take the risk, trading with outcasts?
Every time you ask. If a big, meaningful talk is what you're after, move along.
It's because you used to be one, isn't it?
Yeah. Got caught poking around one of the metal ruins out beyond the Embrace. Matriarch said I was tainted and gave me 5 years.
Damn.
What did you see in the ruins?
Nothing I can make sense of. After my shunning, I tried living back in Mother's Heart, but everyone I knew had moved on, and there were so many people everywhere I turned. I like it better out here.
Yeah, I can't say I blame you, dude, for just being curious, and then you got sentenced to 5 years of social isolation.
The only person I've ever told about our trades is Rost.
Yeah, well, not like he can turn me in, even if he wanted to. Law and duty sort of a man, that Rust. I don't know how you stand it.
You really don't know why he was cast out?
I've told you no. I don't think anyone knows what he did, but it must have been serious because his term is for life.
Last time I visited, you had a tripcaster available for trade. Still got it?
I do. But you'd need to bring me a scrapper lens. What can I say? Special weapons don't come cheap.
Oh, I can pay. Took down a scrapper not long ago. Stripped out the lens in perfect condition.
I'll be the judge of that. Show me.
Play movie?
Now that you've got yourself a tripcaster, practice how to use it someplace else, all right? My life's exciting enough without a bunch of shock wire booby traps to trip over.
Really? Could have fooled me. Will you be around later, in case I want to make another trade?
I'll be here. Same as usual, bring me the parts you harvest from any machines you hunt. The better the parts, the more shards I'll pay. Be sure to take a close look at my inventory, though. Who knows? Maybe I've got something that could give you an edge in the proving.
So, something I want to illustrate real quick that just comes to mind is back when she said you were outcast once, weren't you? And he says, yeah, I was outcast for 5 years. That's why I trade with outcasts. One of the best ways to break through traditions that are harmful to others is to have experiences that garner a sense of empathy for the people who are oppressed by those traditions. So oftentimes you will see things like folks who are more willing or go out of their way to give money or food to folks who are homeless or people who are homeless themselves. When we objectify people, it blocks the way in which we engage empathy for them. So this guy probably carried the same attitude towards people who were outcast until he became outcast himself, in which case then he goes, whoa, this really does suck. And it really does happen at times for unfair reasons. So maybe I'm not going to continue to uphold a tradition that I didn't really think much about because it was instilled within me since I was a young child. This is why it is so important to have education with accurate materials, to have a diverse range of perspectives, to have experiences that go outside of our homogeneous upbringing, because it starts to garner a sense of empathy for people that you might otherwise struggle to have empathy for. Empathy is a skill. It is a skill that you have to cultivate and practice. It is not something that you just inherently have a certain amount of, and either you have a lot or a little or in between. It is something that you have to actively participate in trying to cultivate for yourself. And one of the ways that you do that is to have experiences and to be curious about where people come from instead of immediately casting judgment based on your own inductive experience. So his willingness to trade with Aloy and help her out here is the direct result of empathy cutting through tradition.
I guess that concludes our business.
All right, and good luck in the proving. Blessing of All Mother and all that.
I've got what I need. Time to meet Rost at the North Gate.
Aim at the ground near an enemy and fire 2 spots to place a shock wire. It will stun an enemy that crosses the wire. I wonder what happens if I try to go into the town. Kind of want to try it, see what happens.
Good thing I'm shunned, or I'd actually have to talk to these idiots.
I'm not saying I agree, but it's against the law to talk to outcasts. The outcast girl here. What's the world coming to, huh?
I mean, again, it's so easy. It is so easy for us to cast boatloads of judgment on these people for the way that they're reacting to her. And I am not a proponent of immediately going, wow, these people are assholes. You have to look to leadership and people who are in positions to bear consequences for something like speaking to her. That's where you have to hold disdain and accountability. It is highly likely that these people have grown up with the only story being that if somebody is deemed outcast, you do not talk to them. And they may not have even been given good reason why. To pin this type of thing on them is disingenuous to systems accountability that are embedded within power and hierarchical structure. These people have been taught to respond to her this way. And unless they're taught how to critically think, or critical thought is cultivated, which usually it's not when you have something that's this rigid, they're not going to question it. They're going to just go on it. And all of us do this in our own ways. We are all products of our environment and who scaffolded certain experiences for us. So we're not immune to doing these types of things. And if you think you are, you're off base. Any one of us could be these people shunning her. Because we've learned that that's what you're supposed to do. You've learned that that's how you're supposed to think about it. Because maybe you haven't taken the time to actually critically evaluate your own thought process on it. Aloy, by virtue of being in the subordinate position, has been forced to think more critically about this stuff because she's bared the consequences of it. She's had to deal with the pain of it. So, of course, she's going to think more about it rather than take it in stride because her lived experience as it relates to it sucks. For these people, it doesn't really affect them not to talk to outcasts, and they've been told that they're better off for doing so. So they don't have to think about it. So to go in and go ham on them and blame them and call them assholes is really not the way that we want to go about this. We want to look at the systems of power that have perpetuated this and indoctrinated people into believing that this is how they should behave relative to her.
And they're drive us from the sacred land. The machines are wild.
Hey man, can I take some of your supplies? You don't mind, do you? Okay. You saw me do that? Well, too bad you can't say anything about acknowledging me, idiot. All right. I love though that Aloy's framed for herself that like at least she doesn't have to talk to them now. Like it's a good way to make sense of it. Bruins, ask the question in Questions for DrMick in Discord.
What are they hunting out there? Beyond the embrace. Can't be just one machine.
I hear a lot of stuff.
Aloy, you're here.
You keep saying that. I'm aware that I'm here, dude. I know the position of my body in space-time.
Come now. We should speak. You have the fire arrows?
I do. Those explosions and shouts beyond the embrace. Is that the trouble you were talking about?
You will know soon enough. Until then, we wait for dark.
Wait for dark? I don't understand. Those explosions are outside the embrace. What can we do from in here?
The lesson will be taught in due time, Aloy. Till then, we wait.
It would be ideal if Rost could say why. Like, continuing to reiterate that she'll learn it later as she continues to ask him questions and want to gather more information is not particularly useful here, dude. Like, it's okay for you to say, there's a reason that I can't tell you that right now. That reason is part of X thing. So I would appreciate if you stop asking Aloy. I understand that it's anxiety provoking for you, but I just don't have, I am not in a position to answer that right now. Something like that. The fact that she continues to ask why means that he's not giving a satisfactory answer, which means that he needs to evaluate the way that he is pitching this to her.
I saw Karst and got that tripcaster I was talking about.
I hate to think what that outlawed trader charged for a weapon of that make.
It wasn't cheap, but the caster is worth it.
Perhaps. You'll know it's worth soon enough.
Look, Rost. I've thought it through, and I'm not going to shun you after the proving, okay? I won't do it. I'm not about to pretend that you never raised me.
Aloy, the law forbids all contact.
It does, and I don't care. I know what duty means for you, Rost, but all tribal law has ever done for me is take things away. And that's not gonna happen again.
Aloy, I must obey the law.
And so you will. I knew you'd say that, so this is what we'll do. I'll come to you in secret. No one will see me, so I won't get in trouble. And I know you won't talk to me because it's against the law, but I'll talk to you. It'll be my crime, not yours. You'll just listen. And that's how we'll handle this.
You've put a lot of thought into this.
I know. So you can stop worrying. It's handled.
Yes. So it is.
Not bad. Some good problem solving. Something that I think now that Aloy is an adult, she will need to consider when engaging with Rost is respect for his position, even if she doesn't agree with it. Like, something that Aloy has really started to show is that if she doesn't agree with something, it must be wrong, and there must be something done about it. But Rost also gets to decide what his orientation to the rules is. And Rost has decided, for whatever reason, that he respects the rules and intends to follow them. And that is absolutely his prerogative. Aloy doesn't have to agree with that. But she does arguably need to respect it in the same way that Rost may wish to respect what's going on for her. And they're at a value impasse as it relates to that. So Rost could say to Aloy something like, hey, I follow the rules for a reason, Aloy, and I realize that it is really painful. The idea that if you go through the proving, that you will have to shun me. I will also remind you, Aloy, that it is your decision to do that. And this is one of the harder decisions you'll have to make in your life. One of the consequences for you gathering more information about your mother and becoming part of the tribe is that we have to cut contact. It's a rule I intend to follow. If your relationship with me is more important than that information, then maybe you don't have to do the proving. But if you're dead set on doing this and it's what you prepared for and it's what's right for you, I also ask that you respect my choice as it relates to that, which is to follow the rules. Aloy's old enough now to understand that. And this is where our values can infiltrate the way that we view this scenario, where we say, well, the ideal would be that Aloy gets to talk to the person that raised her. Yeah, for her, But for him, society at large and the norms associated with it are more important to him, as painful as it may be. And so that mutual respect of boundaries is something that they're going to have to negotiate together before she goes and does this. And so for her to have problem solved this and for him to essentially say, okay, you've thought about this, and not directly agree with it, but seems to in some ways acknowledge that this is something that it would work, is fine. But he could just as well have said no. And he would not be in the wrong by doing that. The inability to speak to Rost by rule is a consequence of Aloy's adult choice to engage in the proving. And that is important for her and for us to keep in mind here. We have to place accountability where accountability lies in terms of what people choose to do and the choices they make interactionally and in the context of the environment and wider system that they're embedded in. It's tough, it's hard, but human relationships don't just fit one-to-one all the time, as much as we may like them to.
Still a while to go before dark. I guess I'll get some rest.
Good idea. There'll be no time for sleep tonight.
Opening a gate for an outcast?
Some who are shunned reaped honor before disgrace.
So much for tribal law.
I spoke to no one, and now we must both keep silent, for we are outside of the embrace. These are the true wilds, Aloy, with threats unlike any you have ever faced.
That carcass. What sort of beast was that?
The tribe calls it a sawtooth, and it's something new. Something angry. Since they first started appearing 10 years ago, they have killed many braves.
Yeah.
Since they first started appearing, who the hell's making them? It's not like machines just come out of nowhere and reproduce. Like, that's a little bit creepy.
Follow the path. It's not far.
That cabin. What happened to it?
A machine, that's what.
What sort of machine does that?
The sort of machine you're hunting now.
Oh. I see.
God damn. This is huge. See, this is akin to basically like a child going to college. Like, you grow up, if you didn't move around a lot, you grow up in this small little area, and your assumption, understandably so, is that that's basically how the world works. You think that the dangers of that specific zone are the biggest dangers. And then all of a sudden, you're thrust out into a wider adult world that hits you like a ton of bricks. And that's essentially what's happening for Aloy here. What do you mean there are things that are more dangerous than Watchers? Why are cabins on fire? Oh my God! And there's really no way to prepare somebody for that other than for them to... I mean, you could give them a little bit of a heads up. But the reality is, until you experience it, you're not going to really know how to navigate it. And so this is a huge developmental transition for Aloy. Because she is now having to confront some of the realities of the outside world that she's been insulated from by virtue of being in the embrace. But this begins the journey of a diverse range of thought and representation of the world that she lives in. So while it might be scary, it's also exciting if you want to be a well-rounded person.
I'll watch your carcass. I'll harvest the parts.
Yes. the comfort of a machine that I understand. Look at all these dead people, dude. Like, holy crap. What do you mean it costs money to fill my gas tank? Yeah, right. Yeah, the real world sucks ass. And now we get to experience that firsthand. This is essentially what it's like to turn into an adult. You realize the world's on fire. And you're like, oh, wow, okay, well, it was a little bit more fun being a kid. Nope, wrong weapon. Wrong weapon. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God, I don't... how do I change the weapon? Oh, geez. Nope. I keep hitting the wrong... Eventually, I'm going to know the right button. It was literally the last one that I picked. Okay.
Entire lodge wrecked by sawtooths? How many were there?
I didn't bring you here to answer questions, Aloy. I brought you here to deal with that.
Can I go home?
It's huge. How do you defeat it?
That will be for you to decide.
Ooh, I love that he's
This
leaving her
hunt
to
is
do
yours
this.
to make, Aloy. Yours alone. No matter what happens, I will not intervene. You understand? You are on your own.
Oh, that's so great. It's great. I love this because this is how you get a person from not knowing how to engage in a skill to engaging in the skill on their own. He has scaffolded over many years her understanding of how to hunt. And now she is presented with a novel experience, and he is stepping away and saying, now is the time for you to use everything you learned in order to navigate this piece of adversity. And I'm not going to help you. No matter what, I will not intervene. That is exactly what he should do if he wants to facilitate Aloy's autonomy of thought around how to solve this problem. It's excellent. It's the culmination of everything. At some point, the teacher has to be able to remove themselves so that the learner can do the thing unaided. That is the pinnacle of having a learned skill, and then she can fine-tune from there. And so he is essentially saying, I'm not going to be a post that you can tether yourself to anymore on this. There are many more things that are dangerous ahead of you, and you're going to have to learn how to think for yourself in these situations and trust what you were trained to do. And that's excruciating for a parent to do, by the way. That is so hard for Rust to look at Aloy and see that she might struggle here. She might even die, and he is not going to intervene, which is a great expectation for him to set for her so that she understands what she's dealing with, so that she doesn't lose sight of what's happening and rely on an arrow from him. That's so hard for a parent to do, but it's so important to do. Because at some point, your kids have to learn to navigate the world without you. Your relationship has to shift from one where they want to hang out with you, not where they need to hang out with you.
Stay out of sight. I can use the tall grass to approach. Okay, let's see. Where can I
And then the game tells you what to do instead. So I can trap it. Look at that, dude. Oh. Hard outer casing to protect synthetic muscle and operational systems. Blaze canister. Shooting elemental canisters with the right ammo triggers an explosion that will damage everything nearby. Shoot off this component to collect the resource inside. Oh my gosh, and like hearing the way that it... Doom, 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 doom. Man, he's gonna trip on that thing and then he's gonna freak out. Now we wait. Could get to high ground. That seems like it would make more sense. Maybe climb on top of that house? If I can. Maybe I can't. All right. Oh, look at it. Oh.
Sorry to spoil your fun.
What do you think about that, Rost?
Why did I bring you here?
Not to answer questions.
Aloy.
Survival requires perfection. It was a test to hone my skills against a dangerous new machine.
No. Follow. These are Nora hunting lands. They must be protected. If you hadn't destroyed the Sawtooth, how many Braves might it have killed or injured tomorrow? The lesson lives within the question, Aloy. For years, you've trained to win the Proving, but only for yourself. As a Brave, it will be your duty to fight for your tribe.
My tribe? You said I wouldn't need them.
But I never said the tribe wouldn't need you. The strength to stand alone, Aloy, is the strength to make a stand. To serve a purpose greater than yourself. That is the lesson you must learn. And remember it. After the Proving. And after I'm gone. We're finished here. Follow.
Hard lessons to learn, man. I mean, whether you agree with that lesson or not is inconsequential to the fact that essentially what he just taught her is that her actions have consequences. That as an outcast, you have spent your entire life basically in relation to me. It's been you versus the world. But what you don't realize and quickly need to realize is that the culture shock is going to be real. Because when you are part of a group and a tribe, you are now all of a sudden met with a bunch of expectations, some of which are going to directly cut across your autonomy. Some are going to cut directly across what you believe the world needs to be. You have spent all the years of your life in isolation and operating on your own behalf, and you have learned to survive as a result of that, and it's felt pretty good despite the fact that you haven't had much social interaction outside of with me. That is, honestly, it's a reality, unfortunately, that Aloy is not going to fully understand until she gets there, but there's a very real chance that she's not going to like that, because it's going to force a lot of changes out of her, and she's going to think that she can go in there guns blazing and do things the way she wants to do, and that people are going to capitulate to her in the way that Rost has throughout her life, and that may not actually be true. These are very hard life lessons to learn, and what I appreciate about Rost is that he forces Aloy to have an experience, and then he provides the context for it. Which in some frames, particularly one like this, is important because Aloy is going to remember how she felt when she learned that lesson, and it makes it easier to connect to when she has to draw upon it going forward. And so I admire the way that he handles this. He's treating her like an adult right now in the way that he's handling this with her rather than as a child. This is basically the world has a lot more to it than you think, and it's going to smack you upside the head real fast. And so you'd better learn how to think for yourself as you navigate it. And also, you're going to be beholden to people in a way that you may not be used to and you may not like. But this is what you're signing up for if you go and do the proving.
Dawn has passed. This will be your last day in the Embrace as an outcast. Use the time to set your mind on the challenges before you. When it is time for you to go to Mother's Heart, I'll be waiting for you along the way.
I understand the final lesson, Rost.
Do you?
But if I'm going to stand for something, it'll have to be something I believe in.
Then I hope you find it, Aloy. I hope you do.
I'll go back to the cabin with you.
I'm not heading there just yet. I have other plans.
Oh, such as?
I'll be waiting for you when it is time.
I'll see you at Mother's Heart then.
You will.
I'm gonna pee real quick. Be right back. All right. Holy hell. That's a big old map. All right, let's go talk to this Grata person. It's like freaking Elden Ring. Go through one place and then all of a sudden you can't believe how big it is. I don't have time for you right now. What is this?
fascinating, if they weren't looking... You want to talk to an outcast?
I'm desperate for help. Whatever the consequences.
What's the problem then? Trouble with your leg?
Forget about me. It's my daughter, Arana. She's in danger. She went after a scrapper near Mother's cradle, and I fear for her life. I can't even stand up, let alone go after her. Will you help me find her?
Why would your daughter hunt a scrapper on her own?
It's my fault. I went after it first, and it tore up my leg. I barely got away, and I left a spear impaled in the machine. That spear was made by Adina, my mate, who died last year. It means everything to Arana. She went after the scrapper to get it back.
You know the matriarchs might cast you out for speaking to me, don't you?
I don't care. I tried looking for her myself, and my leg gave out. Just find her. I'll accept any punishment if it means she's safe.
You said Arana went to Mother's cradle?
Yes, southeast of here. I forbid her from going, but ever since her mother died, she's become impossible. Damn it, look at me. A widower, now a cripple. Father that can't find his daughter. Please, help me set things right.
I'll do what I can to help your daughter.
Make sure she's all right. I'm begging you.
It's understandable, but it's also a bit of a bummer that basically, like, this guy's like, yeah, I'll break the rules and I'll talk to you because I need something from you. It's an unfortunate circumstance. Like, while I appreciate that he's willing to advocate for his daughter and talk to Aloy, the fact that he's only talking to her in the context of that. Where... can I only put one marker down at once?
That must be Arana. Sounds like she's in trouble.
I can't get down.
Oh, jeez. Figure out a way up. Hopefully these yellow ropes that are here will help.
Somebody, please! Surrounded!
I got you. You're gonna be disappointed that it's me, but I got you.
Who are you calling out for? Do you need help?
I have nothing against outcasts. Far from it. But I shouldn't talk to you. I don't want to get in trouble.
I don't see anyone else around to help.
I guess you're right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be callous. My brother was cast out, but his sentence has ended. He should have come home, but he didn't, and his camp was covered in blood.
So one of the things that we seem to be learning here is that the attitudes that people are being told they're supposed to have towards outcasts are an override of their human sensibilities of empathy. So it's really disappointing sometimes to have the realization that we are very easily controlled by people that we perceive to have power. That these people are willing to override their empathy for the fact that this is another human sitting in front of them because they've been told that they will be in trouble for talking to them. And there are real consequences, that you will be cast out for doing so. We are all susceptible to this. And you often won't even realize how susceptible you are to it until you're put in a position where you have to make a decision about whether you're going to follow popular convention or rules or what you've been told you're supposed to do instead of what feels right in the moment. And it's more complex than we tend to make these dilemmas out to be. Very easy for us to sit here and say, just talk to Aloy, Jesus. But it's not that simple when you've seen real consequences for that type of thing. People will second guess themselves and do what they've been shown will help them survive in lieu of connection or whatever it is that we might value from a deeper sense because of the circumstances. People will follow orders they never thought that they would follow. People will break through boundaries they never thought they would break through because they perceive people in positions of power as being able to do something about it and having the systems of accountability in place to hold them accountable for it if they violate it. That's a real force that infiltrates our interactional dynamics. And it's one that at times it needs to be acknowledged, not necessarily agreed with, but needs to be acknowledged, because that's again where I fall into the category of you have to hold the people in power accountable for the systems that they've created that people are following, rather than constantly battling with the constituents. It's a really difficult space to occupy here.
What are you doing out here all alone?
Each day I cut a notch on the wall so I knew Brom's sentence was over. Then I cut 3 more, but he still hadn't come back. I begged the matriarchs to send braves to find him, and all they found was a blood-soaked camp. The braves said he must be dead, but I have to know the truth. So I came out looking for him.
You said your brother's camp was soaked with blood?
The braves went looking for him, and that's what they found. All I can think about is what might have happened. Is he really dead? Or maybe just wounded? Is he suffering? Does he need help? I can't stand it not knowing.
Why was your brother cast out?
Brom was always a little different. A little touched. One of the hunters had a cruel heart and never let him alone. I was gone but an hour, and the hunter set after him like always, but this time, Brom struck back with a rock and split the man's skull. Spirits made him do it, he said. Whispers of the forgotten. It cost him 10 years. I never should have left him alone.
What do you mean, forgotten?
All Mother curses blasphemers who won't repent, banishing them from her eternal memory. Those lost spirits are the forgotten. Brom used to say they spoke to him, told him to do things. It was such a burden for him, and there was nothing I could do to help.
That girl screaming in the background for help is making it hard to pay attention to what this woman is saying. She's like disclosing some super vulnerable shit. The only thing I can hear is this girl in the background going, I'm stuck, I need help. I'm coming.
I'll do what I can to find your brother.
Then let me come with you. I won't be a bother. I know how to stay out of sight.
I'm faster on my own.
If that is how it must be, just find him then. Please.
All right, all right. All right. Where are you stuck? Where is this girl stuck? Wait, is that her that's yelling and it was just like glitched out? Oh, man. Oh, okay, here we go. There she is.
Somebody, please!
I'm coming.
Here?
I'm coming.
Seems like she's in trouble.
Somebody, please!
Oh, God.
Thanks for saving me from those machines. Thank you. I thought those Watchers were gonna tear me apart.
Your father sent me after you. It's time to go home.
I figured. But I can't go back until I get my mother's spear from that scrapper.
That spear must mean a lot to you.
My mother made it not long before she died. I can't believe my father lost it.
He didn't mean to. Scrappers are dangerous.
I know. I just can't stand the idea that it might be gone forever.
Your father is worried sick about you.
He gets worried if I go 10 steps to relieve myself in the bushes.
He doesn't want to lose you, Alana.
I know. But I do wish he wouldn't yell at me so much.
But Aloy's taking a real omniscient view of this. Like, you don't have to speak on behalf of her father.
How did you wind up in that tree?
I tracked the scrapper to Mother's cradle. Caught a glimpse of it too, but then a Watcher saw me and called his pack. By all, Mother, I'm just not a good enough hunter to get that spear back, am I?
I guess not. I'll get it.
I'll look for your spear.
You will? Oh, thank you.
Go find your father. His leg gave out while he was searching for you, just south of Mother's Heart.
Oh, no. Okay, I'll go to him right away. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Ooh, fancy. Let's go get this thing. Wait, this is a human track.
Alana's trail ends here. Must be where she saw the scrapper. If I follow its tracks, I should be able to find that spear.
Oh God, is it the other way? God damn it. Your father is incapacitated by a horrific leg injury on the side of the road. Oh, he's so dramatic. What the hell? Follow the scrapper's tracks. Yeah.
Perhaps my focus can help me. Mother's cradle.
That's not where the scrapper would have gone, though, right? This thing traveled a long ass way. Boom.
The trail ends here. I'll better cross the road. Better check it.
Shooter! Shooting the bow in this game is so fun. Oh my god. Oh god. Okay.
They know where I am.
I don't even see if I care. Who needs eyes anyway? No, Smith, they did not. At least not that I can tell. Oh, there it is.
There. Time to get that spear.
Boom! Oh boy.
A well-made weapon. Arana will be happy to have it back.
Yeah. Inner. Fast travel to this, I think, right? No? Fast traveling's not a thing yet.
Nice. To a good hunt.
Whee! How'd you not get hit by that scrapper? Because I'm a freaking monster. I do not have the option. So we run. Yeah, fast travel's not here yet. That's fine. It's okay. Gives me a chance to explore this beautiful world. More rain. Probably should have done that other lady's quest because I'm guessing it was closer, but oh well. This wasn't terrible. At least Aloy's got amazing stamina.
Oh, Mother be praised. Aloy's back with the spear.
Did I ever say what my name was?
First you send Arana back to me, and now you've got the spear. When I first called out to you for help, I didn't even know if you'd speak to me. I'm glad you did.
Me too. I can't believe you got the spear back.
Your mother knew how to craft them. It's of exceptional make.
I'll never be the crafter she was, but she did pass along a few tricks. I'd be happy to take a look at your spear.
Thank you. It sounds like she was special. I'm sorry for your loss.
Well, because of you, I still have the spear to remember her by. You didn't have to help us, but you did. She would have admired that. Thank you, Aloy, for everything.
When I think what it would have been like if I had lost Arana, Thank you, Aloy.
Coming down steady as a drumbeat.
I like that in the cutscenes they render it with the rain and they have like water dripping off of them. That's fantastic. Yeah, I could play this game in the rain the whole time. Also, this game at 60 frames per second. Do this the old Link way. Oops. All right, let's see what we got here. Oops.
Blood, but no body. There's gotta be more to this. Looks like a few drops of blood lead away from the camp.
Oof, that's a lot of blood, man. Holy crap.
Whose knife is this? Did someone attack Brahm with it? Looks like more blood leading away from here.
Boy, I hope he's not dead.
There, the bucket. Did someone bring the blood to the camp? The trail of blood ends here, but whoever left it must have also left tracks.
What will we find? These stupid idiots. All right.
That's twisted. I wonder if the blood from the camp came from this boar. If Brahm did this, why does he want people to think he's dead? And why desecrate the shrine?
Great question, Aloy.
Scrapper's picking it. Looks like there's a watcher. Whoever I'm following made short work of it. If it's Brahm, he definitely knows how to handle a spear. Someone looted these supplies.
Jesus.
Brahm was an outcast for a long time. Why take food and gear now?
This guy went on a freaking journey. Ooh, jeez. Sorry, Aloy. This dude does not want to be found.
Why would they take them and just throw them away?
Come on. Whoa. Oh, all right.
I'll kill myself. I'll kill myself before I hurt her.
All right, now he was struggling mentally, so we gotta approach this with real caution.
I'll kill myself. I'll kill myself before I hurt her. You're not a spirit. What do you want?
I want you to step away from the edge, Brahm.
No. Leave me alone. Can't you see I need time to think? How am I supposed to think when everybody is shouting at me?
This is a very scary scenario for anybody who's not trained with how to deal with it. And something that is really important in crisis de-escalation, in handling a situation like this, is to match intensity
and to acknowledge the reality of the person that you're working with. So this is not a time for questions. This is not a time to challenge the guy, hearing voices or anything like that. We need to work with what he gives us, match his intensity, and then slowly de-escalate him through how we respond to him, where we start quick and like, what's going on? Tell me what's up. And then we slow our voice down and it will help de-escalate him. If this kind of scenario freaks you out, that's okay. You are not responsible for knowing exactly how to intervene with this if you haven't been trained how to do so. But you control what you can control. Don't try to challenge the person. You try to empathize with what's going on. You engage curiosity. You try to get this person to respond to the moment and to give information about what's going through their head, because that's what's going to give you more to work off of. Rather than immediately challenging it, telling that person to do what you want them to do, and making them attend to the anxiety of the moment because it's freaking you out. You got to stay cool, recognize the limitations of what you can do, and respond to what they give you. Curiosity, empathy. Tell me your story. Let's talk about what's going on. That's the way that you're going to want to de-escalate a situation like this. We'll see how Aloy does. All right, get a hold of yourself is a terrible option. I know this is hard, but I can help is good. Come closer so I won't have to shout. Still making a little bit more about Aloy. So we want to go with the empathy here. I know this is hard. I can help.
So many voices to listen to. It must make your head hurt. I promise my voice will be soft and soothing.
A soft voice, like Alara's. It's been so long. Years. Yes. Yes, I will listen.
That's better. Now tell me, what's troubling you?
Spirits of the forgotten. Souls cursed by the All-Mother. Their voices never let me be. They want me to do things, hurt people. If I go back to the Nora, they might make me hurt Alara. And I'll kill myself before I let that happen.
Do you have to listen to the spirits, Brom?
They're speaking to me right now. Oh is with me. They take care of me, keep me company, help me, except when they scream. Like when that hunter knocked me down. Crush his skull with the rock, they said. And I did.
Brom.
The tendency for folks in situations like this, especially if you don't know what you're doing, is to use your understanding of the world and your being in touch with reality to navigate the situation. And that is the worst thing that you can do. You take the voices seriously. You take his experience seriously. We may know that those voices aren't real, but they're real to him. He hears them. He acts on them. He's accountable for acting on those voices. But the fact that he hears them and that they're so pervasive and that they drive him crazy is real. And too many people will oppose themselves to those voices and be like, oh, they're not real voices. You're just blah, blah, blah. That is so invalidating of that person's experience, and you're not going to reach them if you do that. The way that Aloy started that by saying, I will make sure that I'm a soft voice, it must be so hard to hear all of those in your mind, is the exact way that you want to engage with somebody around something like this. You attend to the reality of the person. It helps him de-escalate. It helps him articulate himself through it. And you treat that as if it is going on for him. Who are you to say he can't hear those voices? It's real to him. Now, we have to make sure that he doesn't act on those voices. Aloy's saying, do you have to listen to those voices? It's a valid question, but he's generally going to answer that question by saying, yes, I do, because they're so pervasive. We would eventually want to help him separate himself from the voices and figure out a way to exert some level of autonomy against them as he hears them. But that's long-term work for a therapist, not for Aloy in a crisis situation. In a crisis situation, you work with what is given to you and you respond according to that. And that's what's going to help you de-escalate. And then eventually that might help that person get access to longer term help for what it is that they're struggling with. It's actually really well done the way this scene was crafted.
You're alive. Oh, Mother be praised. I'm sorry I followed you, but I had to make sure he was all right.
No. Please, sister, I can't protect you.
I need no protection from you, Brom.
Yeah, and that's really sad that he's like, I want to protect you. I care too much about you because I've acted in ways that I don't like based on the way that these voices talk to me, and I need to protect you. And one of the best ways I know how to do that is to kill myself so that I'm not available to do that. I mean, that's a real thought process that people will go through.
He fears these spirits that he hears will turn him against you. Unless your voice can quiet them?
Yes, just as it was before. He only ever hurt someone once, and it was provoked.
I don't want to hurt you, but the Forgotten, their whispers, they fill my head with screams.
Brom isn't ready to return to the Nora, but I don't think he'll hurt you, Alara.
There's a place where I can stay. A cave on All Mother Mountain. I suppose you could visit me there, so long as I'm strong.
You will be, Brom. I'll help you. Thank you, Aloy. I'll take care of him now. May you walk in All Mother's eternal memory, and may the Forgotten leave you be.
It could Hornet, but it's hard to know for sure without speaking to him or getting more context. This potentially, lady. Yeah. I mean, this is it's tricky because like this is a good example of like how you could handle something like this. It's not necessarily perfect though. But yeah, I mean, this provides a good example for how you can de-escalate and attend to the reality of the person for sure. It's just hard because there's so many contextual variables you have to take into account with this stuff. Honestly, like I'd want to make a longer form video of this if I could, of how to do that, but it's tricky. Because it really does require a degree of training to do it properly. Is there such thing as a perfection when it comes to suicide prevention? No. Absolutely not. But the thing that, when it comes to suicide prevention, again, I encourage people to watch my video on YouTube called The Conversation About Suicide if you want to know more about like my thoughts on it in general, like principles to keep in mind when we talk about it. But like, no, it's not something where you're going to be perfect every time. It's a messy process. But the most important thing that you can consider is how you empathize. The most important thing that you can do is empathize with a person. Like a lot of people think that if you empathize with the reasons why a person wants to die, that you're going to push them to actually kill themselves. You're not. It's a myth that gets perpetuated. A lot of people are like, I don't want to say anything because if I say the wrong thing, they'll actually do it.
That's it? Nothing to see here.
Not so. Do we know what causes people to hear voices? That's a bit out of my range of expertise. I'm sure there are theories. Oh god, that's not what I want to do. Nope, 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 nope.
Must speak.
No, I wouldn't say that necessarily, Snuggie. I don't think it's about telling somebody you've been through something similar. What people want generally is the ability to connect and having somebody to talk through who can empathize with the reasons that they want to die, not through their own experience, by just saying it sounds like that's really difficult and this is an option that you've considered, can be really validating. It's because usually what happens is when people say they want to kill themselves, people freak out. And people will say things like, no, you don't want to do that. The reality is, like, there may be very real reason why a person wants to do that, and it's seen as a last resort. It's the culmination of a ton of pain, and connection around that can be very helpful.
I have looked for your bounty among the rocks and the trees, but find no...
Hello, Grata.
Oh, Mother, since I was cast out, have I not been constant as the river flows? Have I not kept the vows as the stones do? Show me your grace, All Mother, and provide for me once more.
Don't worry, Grata. I'll hunt your rabbits.
Oh, Mother, I hear your voice on the wind. I would count your blessings on my prayer beads, but I lost them atop the eastern overlook. My old bones are too worn to return.
So it's rabbits and your trinket you need this time. Okay, I'll find you at your camp.
It's a very convenient way to talk to Aloy. I love that. I love that. That is so clever. Ah, yes, I'm praying. You just happen to overhear me. I pray for food and my beads. I do love people finding loopholes for this. Oh, Mother, the trash can is full and needs to be taken out.
That wasn't a warning.
Ah, all right. I need to get meat. I need to kill something organic. I need meat. I gotta go all the way over there to gather meat. Good lord.
Easy, easy.
No god. Wow, Aloy, just diving into a river. Okay. Interesting.
Okay, Grata said her prayer beads were at the eastern overlook. It's not far from here. Brave Trail of the Rocks is close by.
Yeah.
Grata may be devout, but it takes strong arms to reach the opening.
Yeah. Yeah. Woo! All right, we're going the long way, I guess. Okay.
This looks promising. Aha! Grata's prayer beads. I see why she comes up here to pray. It looks out to Mother's Gate. You know, I wonder what bothers me more. That she ignores me, or that with all her talking to All-Mother, she's never lonely.
She doesn't really ignore you, but I understand the sentiment. Woo! Oh, hell yeah. All right. Now we got to run all the way back to her. Aloy's so extra when she rappels off things. Yeah. It's all right, though.
Gonna put up a fight.
Oh, you want to actually fight? I don't want to. I got places to go, man. I got shit to do.
Just stay out of their way for now.
Another goddamn horse.
There's Grata, all alone with All-Mother, the only way she knows. Good news, Grata. Once again, All-Mother has brought you rabbits. I found your prayer beads, too. Just try not to lose them again.
All-Mother, each morning I find your tears of joy speckling the leaves. Joy at the beauty of all you have made. See how I cry now with you in gratitude.
So you'll cry for her, but you won't speak to me. Fine. Guess that makes you the better outcast. Grata, I may not be around much for a while. I'm gonna run in the proving, and I'm not sure what's gonna happen after that.
Oh, Mother, I thank you for the kindnesses you share. When the proving comes, in your great wisdom, may you give favor to a brave of generous heart.
I think I get what you're saying. Goodbye, Grata. For now.
So, as you navigate different relationships, you have a choice in each and every one of them. Do you choose to expect that every single person you come across interact with you in the way that you want to be interacted with? To which the consequence of that will be at times you will be frustrated with people because they're not interacting with you exactly the way you want. Or do you choose to accept a degree of nuance in your interactions where perhaps you see others interacting with you in a particular type of way that could be signaling something that is meaningful if you give it a chance. And Aloy is presented with that choice here with Grata. She could choose to expect that Grata speak with her and engage with the frustration around the fact that she doesn't, to her own detriment, because it would preclude her from seeing that when Grata says these things to the All-Mother, she is addressing Aloy. And it may not be perfect. It may not be exactly what Aloy wants. There may not be a lot of problem solving here on how they can find some form of middle ground. But if Aloy takes a second and understands the context of Grata and understands that this is a way that Grata knows how to interact with people or chooses to interact with people, and that what Grata is saying, though not actually directly directed to her, is about her and is to her, then she can gain a sense of appreciation and gratefulness for the fact that Grata is expressing what Aloy would like her to express to her, albeit not exactly the way that she wants. In my opinion, that option is the one that is going to lead to you having far more gratifying social interactions with the people around you. Because not everybody is going to interact with you exactly the way that you want them to. And that doesn't mean that they're missing the mark. It doesn't mean that there's not something there that you can take away from it. Getting that rigid about that kind of thing is really only to your detriment. Because there is a vast, infinite variety of ways that humans relate to each other. And it's based on skill. It's based on what people have learned. It's based on all sorts of things that you don't necessarily have all the context and understanding for. So find ways to see underneath the ways that people are interacting with you, and you may find that your interactions are more fulfilling as a result.
Mother, hear me as I count. My years of devotion from these beads.
All right, Rost. Let's have a chat.
Ouch. Here they come.
Such a little tease with Rost. Maybe he should have built a campfire next to where he's sitting, and I would have gone right at him. All right, let's see what you got. In part 2, you knew this was, you knew it was coming. You knew that that's what we were going to start part 2 on. YouTube, thank you so much for taking the time to watch part 1. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I'm very excited to see where this is going to take us. I hope that my analysis was meaningful in some way. Please leave a like, leave a comment. I would love to hear what you have to say about this run. It's been an absolute blast. to start this. It's going to be a nice long playthrough, and it'll be excellent. There's going to be a lot of good stuff for us to talk about. So come hang out with us on Twitch sometime. Check out all the links in the description. Y'all are fantastic. And if you're binging, I'll see you in part 2. If you're waiting for the next one to come out, we'll get it out as soon as we can. But I appreciate you. See you on the next one.